I mean, I think a lot of folks are skeptical that that meeting will happen. I think that's a reasonable expectation. In my opinion, I think that President Xi has the complete power here in the dynamic of who gets to choose whether this meeting happens. I think it's the Chinese. I don't think there's a lot that are compelling them to the table. I think that President Trump is really emboldened to continue pushing forward aggressively with tariffs, and in that environment, I'm not really sure that President Xi wants to sit down with him.
Are these hearings that are going to last about 7 days, which just happens to coincide with G-20 in Japan? Yeah. It seems like that was meant to raise the pressure on the Chinese. Yeah, that's not working at all.
No, I mean, I would have to think that it was intended to do that, and it probably does a little bit. When we think about all the powers that China has through its government, it can control monetary policy, it can spike demand for labor, it can spike demand for products. There's not really a lot that folks in Washington I've talked to that think that, President Xi feels like he's in a weakened position in some way. And so despite maybe the administration's best efforts at trying to raise the leverage, I don't really know if it's going to work.
He may, though, feel in a slightly weakened position given what's been going on in Hong Kong. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, absolutely. That is quite a level of unrest, right?
And so my thought process is, how, if at all, does that play into his resoluteness or his willingness to meet with the president, where he really probably now more than ever can't afford to seem to be caving?
Absolutely. That's a good point. I mean, I think was it President Trump who said he intends to discuss Hong Kong with President Xi if he does meet with him? I mean, President Xi has to at least appear that he's willing to have this be a transparent negotiation, transparent conversation, whether it's about U.S. trade or whether it's about Hong Kong and sort of the unrest over there. So maybe that will compel them to come to the table. I would not necessarily be surprised if they meet. I certainly don't think they'll reach some sort of agreement at the meeting. Yeah.
The hearings that the USTR are holding, they're interesting. They focus on these various industries that would be directly impacted, indirectly impacted by tariffs. But there's another way the Chinese could exert their power, and that is just by holding things up in the course of doing business in China and finding U.S. companies that are operating there. We've seen that with Ford. That's the belief behind the Ford find. Do you think that the administration looks too narrowly at the amount of leverage the Chinese have?
Yeah, I do think that the administration feels probably more confident than they should, but I also think, how else are they going to feel? And in this country, most Americans really do not like how China has behaved on an international level. So the president and the administration are given a tremendous amount of latitude to try to be tough. And so what are they supposed to do? Just back down? It's not in President Trump's psyche. It's certainly not in America's psyche. And so it makes a lot of sense what they've done.
And it works with his base, as you point out.
It sure does. And even a lot of moderates. Yeah.
Yes.